Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this press conference in the framework of the visit of the College of Commissioners to the Belgian presidency with Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Both excellencies will first give a statement and will then take some questions.
En daarna kunnen er een aantal vragen worden gesteld. Eerste minister, u heeft het woord.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome here. Is the microphone working? Yes, the microphone.
Doet mijn microfoon het?
Start again.
Ja, prima.
Good evening, everyone.
Goedenavond,
welcome here.
Hartelijk
Dear Ursula,
welkom
welcome
hier.
here.
Beste
Let me
Ursula,
start by
welkom
saying
hier.
Europe
Eerst en
is
vooral
coming home.
wil ik zeggen dat
And we
Europa
are
thuis komt.
extremely delighted, of course, to take over this rotating
dat we het
presidency.
roterend voorzitterschap
There
nu
have
kunnen
been
overnemen.
quite a few starts of this European presidency. Let me say
Er zijn
that
al
this
een aantal
really
startpunten
today
geweest van
has been,
ons
has been the real
voorzitterschap,
start.
maar dit vandaag is
We've
de
had the
echte
occasion
start,
to
het echte
discuss
begin.
we
hebben de gelegenheid gehad om te praten met
onze
regering en het college over een aantal onderwerpen. En ik kan zeggen dat wij heel blij zijn en er naar uitkijken om aan de slag te gaan. De relatie tussen het voorzitterschap van de Raad van de Europese Unie en de Europese Commissie is ontzettend belangrijk. In de wereld van vandaag is het zo dat als je iets wil realiseren, je moet samenwerken. De samenwerking tussen de Belgische regering en het college is van cruciaal belang. Ons voorzitterschap komt op een heel belangrijk moment. Meer dan ooit is het zo dat de Europese bevolking kijkt naar de Europese Unie. Ze kijken naar de Europese Unie met heel duidelijke verwachtingen. Verwachtingen om hen te beschermen, de verwachting om ons welzijn te versterken, onze welvaart, en met de verwachting om een gemeenschappelijke toekomst voor te bereiden. Die gemeenschappelijke toekomst hier in Europa betekent ook Oekraïne in het hart van Europa. Het is de beste garantie voor onze toekomstige stabiliteit, voor onze gezamenlijke veiligheid, de veiligheid van de bevolking van Oekraïne, maar ook de gemeenschappelijke veiligheid voor de Europese bevolking. Na de beslissing van december van de Europese Raad zullen wij werk maken van een onderhandelingskader voor de toekomstige uitbreiding met Oekraïne en Moldavië. En dat brengt me tot een breder onderwerp, want we leven in een wereld met trauma's in Oekraïne, in het Midden-Oosten en op heel veel andere plekken in de wereld. En wij als Europeanen die dragen vaak de overgrote meerderheid van de gevolgen van wat er gebeurt in de wereld. Wat we moeten doen als Europese Unie is ook een voortrekkersrol spelen in de discussie. Een leidinggevende rol spelen in woorden en in daden. We moeten niet alleen de gevolgen dragen van wat er gebeurt, we moeten ook proberen om te beïnvloeden wat er gebeurt in de wereld. We zullen ook de volgende institutionele cyclus voorbereiden. We zullen het werk ondersteunen in het kader van het bepalen van de prioriteiten voor de volgende 5 jaar. Een van die prioriteiten is hoe we de Green Deal kunnen realiseren om ervoor te zorgen dat de bevolking, de economie, de industrie er deel van kan uitmaken en dat ziet als een voordeel. Niet alleen voor de natuur en het milieu, maar ook voor het creëren van welvaart en het welzijn. En dat betekent ook dat we de Europese Unie moeten hervormen. We weten dat er discussies lopen over uitbreidingen op een bepaald moment. En onze boodschap is glashelder. Vooraleer we groter worden, moeten we beter worden. We hebben de Europese Unie nodig die sneller kan beslissen. Terwijl we eenheid bewaren, moeten efficiënter zijn in het gebruik van de middelen die de Europese bevolking ter beschikking stelt. Een aantal onder ons vanochtend waren in Parijs. We zijn naar Parijs gegaan voor de herdenking van Jacques Delors.
We Europeans enjoy the European Union in our daily lives. In our daily lives by using the euro, by traveling throughout the European Union without borders, by having programs such as Erasmus. Jacques Delors really was one of the architects of the modern Europe that we see today.
Hij was de architect van de Europese Unie zoals we die nu kennen. De geest van Jacques Delors
something we need.
is iets dat wij nodig hebben. Een Europa dat begrijpt dat we samen sterker zijn. Een Europa dat begrijpt dat het goed is om vrienden te hebben in de wereld van vandaag.
We will keep
en terwijl we dat doen,
our citizens
zullen we ervoor zorgen dat onze burgers voorop blijven staan. Dat is een topprioriteit in al het werk dat we leveren. Ze verwachten dat Europa hen beschermt, ze verwachten dat Europa hen sterker maakt en ze verwachten een Europa dat paraat is. Volgende 6 maanden zullen wij samenwerken met de Europese Commissie, met andere lidstaten, met het Europees Parlement ook. En dan wil ik afronden en zeggen dat het nu moet gebeuren. We staan op een scharniermoment. Het is aan ons om concrete resultaten af te leveren.
Merci, cher Alexandre. C'est un grand plaisir pour moi d'être ici pour le lancement de la présidence belge du Conseil. Et tout d'abord de pouvoir profiter un peu des trésors artistiques, culturels et historiques exceptionnels de Bruxelles. Car même si nous y vivons et travaillons tous les jours, hélas, les occasions de profiter de ce patrimoine sont trop rares. La présidence belge est donc la bienvenue pour nous rappeler le rôle exceptionnel de la Belgique dans l'histoire européenne. Et ce rôle continue avec cette présidence qui arrive à un moment si important. Votre présidence sera celle de la ligne d'arrivée pour de nombreux chantiers lancés pendant le mandat de ma commission. Et je compte sur les talents des sprinters de Belgique, connus mondialement grâce à vos champions cyclistes, pour gagner le sprint final. En effet, nous avons des dossiers importants à clôturer. Tous doivent contribuer aux objectifs de votre présidence, protéger, renforcer, préparer des priorités que je partage pleinement. And let me start with the most strategic of these priorities, that is the support for Ukraine. We all witnessed Russia's recent brutal airstrikes on civilian targets in Ukraine. And after the historic decision to launch accession negotiations with Ukraine, we must urgently move forward on stabilizing our financial aid to the country. The Commission will come to the European Council with operational solutions to ensure that we can agree on the Ukraine facility. And Belgium will then have the key task of transforming the political agreement on the facility through Council and Parliament as quickly as possible. The Ukraine facility is a central element of the revision of the multi-annual budget, but it is not the only one. We need to conclude the revision during the Belgian presidency, and this will give us the means to implement many of the policy priorities that we have identified and on which we have made progress. Take, for example, migration. With the recent political agreement on the pact, we have now the basis for a new and effective policy. And it will be important to bring these files now over the finish line. Another example is competitiveness. I very much look forward to an agreement between Parliament and Council on our proposal for the Net Zero Industry Act, because this will provide our industry with a greatly improved regulatory framework to drive forward the green and digital transition. Of course, competitiveness is a wide theme with many different angles. So we also need modernized fiscal rules that help stimulate sustainable investment throughout Europe. And the agreement in Council a few weeks ago was a very welcome step forward. Now I am confident that the Belgian presidency can ensure an agreement with the Parliament before the end of this mandate. We also need a very strong social dialogue. First, because long-term competitiveness relies first and foremost on Europe's main talent, and that's the people and their skills. And second, because competitiveness is a tool to ensure prosperity, and this is prosperity for all. So I'm very much looking forward to the Val d'Uchaise summit to discuss the future of work. And I share your objective to sign an interinstitutional declaration on social Europe in La Hulpe, with a focus on a new drive for implementing the European pillar of social rights. And I'm also very much looking forward to our discussions on the two reports you mentioned, the report by Enrico Letta on the single market and the report by Mario Draghi on competitiveness more generally. I am convinced that these reports will provide inspiration for new initiatives to reinforce our long-term competitiveness. Dear Alexander, one of your presidency's priorities is to prepare for the future. And my college, entering its last year of mandate, will continue to work hard to do just that. Let me mention 2 points. We will come forward, in particular, with a communication on the 2040 climate targets. And after the COP28 and the success on our European initiative for global targets on renewables and energy efficiency worldwide, it is important for the European Union to continue to set the standards and the trends. And second, following the decision of the last European Council, as you said, we must prepare for an enlarged union. And before we get bigger, we have to get better. So during the Belgian presidency, we will come forward with our roadmap for policy reviews, and I look forward to discussing them with you. The European Union we both are striving for is a union that delivers and a union that empowers. So let's go to
resultaten levert en de mensen ook inspraak. Thank you very much, Excellencies. We will take some questions now. Please state your name and the media you work for before asking en voor welke krant u werkt. Paula? Met microfoon.
A question to Prime Minister De Croo, perhaps. You were in Paris, you mentioned, where Prime Minister Viktor Orban was also in attendance. Do you have a feeling that a solution at 27 for financing Ukraine is possible? And Madam President, may I ask, you said you will have operational solutions ready. What is the earliest date that you can get aid to Ukraine? Thank you so much.
Wanneer denkt u dat de hulp aan Oekraïne
great question. Yes, of course. The aim is to come to an agreement with 27 countries. And we've had, over the past 2 years, other moments where there was doubt, and I often call it the Brussels doubt. It is a few hours before a European Council, everyone starts doubting if it is possible. And up to now, every time we've come with a solution. So I see no reason that besides the Brussels doubts, we will also have the Brussels decisiveness and come to an agreement with 27 countries.
En ik ben zeker dat we akkoord met de 27 kunnen bereiken. Inderdaad, dat is onze eerste prioriteit. Een akkoord onder de 27, maar we moeten ons ook voorbereiden op andere opties. En dat zijn dan de operationele oplossingen die we nu aan het uitwerken zijn. Zeer belangrijk ontvangen te beseffen. Vlak voor Kerstmis hebben we nog de laatste tranche van onze 18 miljard steun aan Oekraïne.
So this will help Ukraine finance their needs for the beginning of this year. This gives us a little bit of leeway, but of course we have to work as hard and as fast as possible.
Natuurlijk moeten we ook zo snel en zo hard mogelijk werken om nog meer te bereiken. Yes, please.
Bloomberg News, Lyubov Pronina. Thank you very much. I have 2 questions to Madam President and also to Prime Minister. One of the focuses during the presidency will be relationship with China, I imagine, and we have a recent development of starting the anti-dumping investigation against EU liquor. Do you see this as a retaliation, and do you think that this kind of tit-for-tat can spill over into a bigger trade fight? And a second question, Prime Minister, you have spoken a few times about the importance of not just having the Green Deal, but also having the industrial deal. What are the particulars? What do you want to see in that industrial act? Thank you.
So, what our relationship to China is concerned, it is very important to be very frank about the facts. We have a $400 billion trade deficit with China. And it increased drastically over the last years. So when I visited China, I was very clear on that yes, we like competition, that is good, but it has to be fair, there has to be a level playing field, and it has to be transparent. So when it comes to subsidies, for example, we have to have transparency about what kind of subsidies are given and under what circumstances. And this is the discussion we are leading with China. My experience is that the more open, the more frank you are, the more you can really pinpoint on the difficult points in the economic relationship. We have agreed with the Chinese leadership that we will go point by point through all the complaints we have and our companies in China, for example, experience and have, and work through them systematically so that we do not only have the complaint on a superficial level, but step by step we go through all the difficulties, for example, European companies face when they want to access the Chinese market.
On the Green Deal and industry, I think too often there are people who try to oppose one against the other. And I think that's wrong. And I think it's remarkable what we have done. I mean, the European continent has been going through major crises over the past 3 years. And I'm extremely proud that the Commission was able to maintain the goals of the Green Deal. We were all very clear on keeping the goal. Now that we get into a next phase where we hope we can let the crisis behind it, we have to come into a new phase of policy, which means how do we make the Green Deal bankable? How do we make it something where our industry, where our population sees it as a source not only for advantage from an environmental point of view, but also competitive advantage, also a source as a better life, a cheaper life, a more affordable life for our population. Now, how to do this? A few things have already been mentioned, and Nicoletta is doing great work on the version 2.0 of the single market. We talked about Jacques Delors. What was done more than 30 years ago was visionary, but the world has changed quite a bit since then. Our economy is completely different than anything we could have imagined 30 years ago. The work of Enrico Letta, the work of Mario Draghi is a key input in that. We talked about China and about trade. It is clear that trade policy is a part of industrial policy, and we need to better integrate our trade policy in our industrial goals. The European continent is today the continent of innovation, but industrializing that innovation too often is happening in some other places. We are a continent with a lot of financing which is available, but today a big part of our pension funds are being invested in the United States, whereas they could rather be invested in the industrialization of the innovation that is happening here. So that industrial deal is something that is quite broad, but that we finally need to put in a package and help it to become a second phase of really firing up the Green Deal.
Om de Green Deal echt aan te moedigen. Time for a last question, Politico.
Een laatste vraag.
Peter Hack from Politico. I had a question on the escalation we've seen in the Red Sea the last few weeks. We've seen some member states already speaking out that there would maybe be consequences. Maybe, Mr. Prime Minister, do you going to use the presidency to push for a more common EU approach to protect the global trade?
In my introduction, I talked about the fact that too often, when there are worldwide events, we Europeans, we bear the brunt of the consequences. Too often, when there are refugee flows because of a conflict, we are the one that take the major part of it. When we see that energy prices go up because of international tensions, we are the one who are paying it. So instead of being a payer, too often we've said we need to be a player. That means that in these situations, we need to do a much more proactive effort in trying to get everyone on the same line. Now, that is an easy thing to say. We know that conflicts like that are often not the easiest one to get everyone aligned. But yes, it is definitely one of our ambitions is to try to work in the most proactive way as possible to get to a common position and to also get to action.
tot de actie over te gaan?
If questions are always hard to answer.
Als vragen, die zijn altijd moeilijk te beantwoorden. De vraag konden de tolken helaas niet horen, die was zonder microfoon. Hartelijk bedankt voor uw aanwezigheid. Hopelijk zien we elkaar heel binnenkort.
Dank u wel.
Dank u wel, minister.
Non, mais même la réponse, c'est ce que j'ai besoin, c'est que